when you're struggling to get to know somebody, ask them to teach you something because it puts you in a position that shows them respect, that you realize that they have something to share.
Welcome to Shaping the Basin. I'm here with Kendra Santiago from Smith Bates.
Yes. Good
Thanks for
morning,
joining
Heather.
us.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
I'm excited you're here. I think the first thing that was on my mind when I was thinking about this episode was you bought a business that had been in this community a really long time.
Yes. So Smith Bates is one of the longest running businesses in Klamath Falls, 100+ years. We don't even know when it officially started. We just know it was in the 1920s. So we're somewhere around the 100-year mark with the organization. I think where you're kind of heading is that sounds very daunting to take
Yes.
over something. To add a little bit more kind of elevation to that, the company, until myself and my husband and our business partners, David and Bobby Johnson, bought that company, it had always been in the same family. So we're the 5th generation of owners, but not related to the previous 4 generations. So Ann and Dan Kavanaugh were prior owners and had sought local individuals that would be interested in carrying on the legacy. So about January 2023 was when the ink was dry on the transition of us being owners. So,
That's exciting
yeah.
and probably a little daunting. I remember some conversations back before you purchased Smith Bates
Mhm.
where you had indicated you were interested in owning your own business and you were
Mhm.
exploring those options. Back then, did you think it was going to be a printing business?
No, I had no idea. So I am born and raised in Klamath Falls, and I went to OIT, pursued a business degree because I felt like a business degree was going to allow me to go into any industry. And I added on a marketing degree and just ended a dual degree program. And it sounds like a lot, but it really wasn't. I just filled in all my electives were um, classes that didn't fit on the curriculum map for the other piece. And I knew that I would enjoy being a small business owner, and I always had a dream of being a business owner, but I had no idea what that would be. And so I went into the corporate world and just tried to learn everything I could. And then we started having a family. And after coming back from maternity leave, I knew I wanted to be a working mom. I think I'm a better mom. For me, I'm a better mom as a working mom than I would be if I stayed at home. But I didn't want to keep making other people more money. And I felt that I was capable of being a business owner. So my husband and I had explored different opportunities of different businesses that were for sale, and nothing penciled out. It was kind of like, do I want to work myself to death and not make a lot of money? What's the cap of opportunity on this business? I went into nonprofit work for a little bit, which was amazing because I felt like it really grew my network. And having been born and raised in this community, it allowed me an opportunity to give back to the community. Uh, and I kind of put the business idea on the back burner for a little bit. I'd been working with Small Business Development Center, so they knew we were interested in opportunities that they might hear about. But as I entered into economic development, I actually used to work for KCEDA, Klamath County Economic Development Association. I felt like that was the perfect mix of entrepreneurship and community-based work that allowed me to kind of flex those entrepreneurial muscles and help other organizations. Little did I know that Ann Kavanaugh and Dan Kavanaugh were looking to retire, and I had no idea that a conversation that basically was the same one we just had would spur her to reach out and offer to go to coffee the next day. Uh, and I will tell you, when she first approached me, I was daunted. I was like, I even had the thought, like, I don't want to tell my husband about this opportunity because he's going to push me to pursue it. And then I'm going to be held accountable to pursue this amazing opportunity. And I really feel like it doesn't feel that daunting when it's something you're excited and passionate about. And I still get to work with all the amazing people that I worked with when I was working in community building at KCEDA or Healthy Klamath and Blue Zones Project. I get to help people in a totally different way. I get to help them grow their businesses. And I get to help people with their livelihoods by being an employer as well. So,
Mhm. How many employees do you have?
Somewhere around 15 to 17 employees at Smith Bates.
How many of them worked for Ann and Dan?
So this is another reason I think we weren't totally scared when we took over the company. We have a couple of people that have retired, but when we took over the company, our average tenure of people that were working at Smith Bates had been there on average 15 years. We had people that had worked there as much as 40 years, and then not including myself since I didn't have any tenure, the shortest working time at Smith Bates was maybe 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So we took over an amazing team of people who really knew what they were doing, knew what the standards were, and just helped us kind of hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
So and I would say that's probably about 8 individuals that are still with the company today that were there when we took over from Ann and Dan.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What are some of the changes you've made to make the company your own?
I think I painted my office.
All right.
So that was, you have to put your own stamp on things and have things your own style. I think the way we talk with our clients is different than it used to be. It used to be that somebody like you might come in and say, I need to print some gala invitations. And we'd say, okay, well, go. Do you need art done or do you have your own art? And that would be a yes or a no. And now it's, when's the gala? Do you have all the signage you need? Are you doing anything for your sponsors? Can we talk about other elements that might help? And so it's more of a conversation of how we can help that person, not just with that one ask, but with the event or the brand overall. And we were always able to do promotional products and signage for our clients, but we never really shared it. It was more of somebody would have to ask and then we would provide that service. And I feel like just through those conversations and having a more conversational approach with our clients, it's opened up major growth opportunities for us where we're doing a lot of promotional products. We also had many people that have been in this community a long time know High Desert Promotions and Apparel, Greg Glassow. He joined forces with us about a year and a half ago. So now we have in-house embroidery and apparel decoration. And so I would say we are still that core business that has been a printing company for 100 years, but we're able to do so much more for our clients just by having a deeper relationship with them. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I want to come back to relationships in a minute
Yeah.
because I know before the episode started, we were talking a little bit about that. And I know that's something you're passionate about.
Mhm.
But thinking about your team members that had been there a long time with Ann and Dan, and then you come in, it doesn't sound like you changed a lot, but you did change some things. Was it hard to inspire them to accept the change?
I think that I'm also blessed that David Johnson, my business partner, had been there for 17 years. So we already had really close relationships with our long-term employees. So culturally, when there's always going to be, anytime a new face enters an organization, no matter what level they are, it always changes the dynamic a little bit. And I feel like when Ann and Dan left, um, and I came on board, it just naturally changed. Just because our personalities are different. And I don't think we got too much pushback, but I will say we've had some learning along the way. Like I mentioned, we were so blessed that we had a team that knew the work and knew the standards and knew the industry and could get the job done. But when you hire a new person, we've learned that we need to train and have clear expectations and clear standards. And I think that I didn't do a good job at that when we first took over. And so it's kind of like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Like it's hard to undo maybe things and introduce stronger standards after the fact. And so what we've learned is where we were blessed that these people already knew the standards, and we hired new people that didn't understand the standards but saw the work ethic. We learned that those standards can't really be introduced over here. That it's best if we introduce those standards at the beginning of the hiring process and have it really ingrained in the culture. So
That makes sense. When you started, did you feel like you knew the culture you wanted there right away, or has that been evolving?
I would say it's always evolving.
Mhm.
And I also have to say, like, I am learning from the people that work for me every single day. I know very little and about printing, and I lean heavily on the people that know a lot about printing at my organization. So, I have amazing graphic designers that work for us, and I kind of know what I like and don't like, but I can't make it happen. And so I seek their advice on things quite a bit. When a client's asking for one thing, I've learned that sometimes it's best to have the designer in the room to help articulate why that will work or won't work.
Hmm.
So,
I
yeah.
like that concept. It's kind of the idea that you know what your weaknesses are and you hire for that,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
hire the people that know
exactly.
the things that you don't know,
Yep.
right? Well, bringing it back to the relationships,
Mhm.
I know that's something you feel strongly about. And
Mhm.
we've talked about printing, but you talk about kind of wrapping it around
Yeah.
and helping them serve. What are some of your tips for building relationships with people?
Finding a way you can help people. I also, you and I have a shared history at Jeld-Wen. I used to work with the Department of Engineers, and I'm married to an engineer that is turned accountant. So I feel like poor engineers. I think they're wonderful individuals, but if we're going to stereotype, sometimes they're really difficult if you're not willing to work and learn from them. And so one of my tips that I usually tell this to college students, not people that are seasoned veterans in the workforce, but is when you're struggling to get to know somebody, ask them to teach you something
Hmm.
because it puts you in a position that shows them respect, that you realize that they have something to share, and be sincere about it. Don't ask them to teach you something you're not really interested in learning, but I have found that that helps me so much to build a stronger relationship, to work alongside somebody if there's something they can teach me along the way and they know I'm leaning on them to teach me that thing.
Oh,
So
that's I like that. I'm gonna have to put that in my notebook.
So,
um, networking. You were at Jeld-Wen.
mhm,
You worked for a couple of nonprofits. You mentioned how those connections now you're still connected to
mhm.
those, but for people in the community, how important do you think networking is?
I think that especially when you're brand new to this community, networking is so powerful. And I have a story, and you're going to know the individual, but I'll try to be as anonymous as possible. When I was at Blue Zones Project, we were getting ready to make a big announcement. And I kind of had an idea of how I wanted to do that. And I wanted to leverage social media to do that. And I felt like we needed some video projects. And I was at a networking event and at an Awake at 8. And my really good friend, Cora Christ, introduced me to somebody who ended up being a videographer. And they were brand new to the community. And from that conversation, I was able to kind of work with them on getting a bid for what I had hoped to do. And they did an amazing job at project management. They were super organized. And through the video shoot, we were videoing people like Paul Stewart, the CEO of the hospital at the time, and Dr. Stuart Decker. And I believe we interviewed, at some point during the work I did with this individual, we interviewed the mayor and Commissioner Minty, and we interviewed individuals from OIT. And so it was this amazing opportunity for that person to get introduced to all of these people and for me to get to brag about the work that they were doing. And from that video shoot, let's say we interviewed 8 different people within the community. It opened up about 5 other opportunities for that person to then grow their business and do more video shoots. And so I feel like as people in the community, I know you feel this way too, networking allows us to be connectors.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not for us, it's for the new person to our community that now is getting an opportunity to go work with others in the community.
Yes.
So,
It's easy to get lost. Don't know which path to take, what to post. In the social media jungle, video is king. Your kids are obsessed, your customers are addicted, we're all hooked, and social media sites prioritize videos. So when you're ready to stand out from the crowd, reach out to 40 Deuce Films. Feeling over everything.
You know, the chamber has this Awake at 8 that
mhm.
we do, and I think that might be the networking. I
Yeah.
don't want to brag,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to me what I've watched over the years at networking events. There are people that come time after time after time, right? They
Mhm.
hardly ever miss it
Mhm.
for 17 years
Yeah.
in this instance. And then we have people that come in, they come once or twice, and then they leave because they didn't see the benefit of it. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you have advice for how people might do networking well if they're going to an event.
Yeah, I think that I'm so when I was with Blue Zones Project, before I was a business owner, I of course had more free time to attend networking events. And now, what the way I approach Awake at 8, for example, is I usually try to see if I have the availability, who it is that's hosting. And if it's somebody that maybe has done business with me or I have a relationship with, I try to be there because I want to show support for that business. Um, but I do think that when I was with Blue Zones Project and I would attend religiously the Awake at Eights every other week, you start to develop your networking friend group, right? Like you
Mhm.
start to see the same faces and you have deeper conversations and you're investing in the things that people are sharing there. And then you're kind of becoming an ambassador out into the community for those people as well. And so I feel like you can't approach networking for what you're going to instantaneously get out of it. It cannot be transactional. I think you have to genuinely be invested in your own success and the success of the people that you potentially might meet at a networking event.
I think the thing that strikes me about what you just said is it sounds like you're networking more to help others than networking to help yourself.
Maybe,
I mean,
maybe. I feel like if I go to Awake at 8, I don't go with the intention to sell somebody something.
mhm,
I feel like maybe it's more of a reminder of, hey, I'm here if you need my help.
yeah,
Smith Bates is here if you need a banner
mhm,
or you want to talk about a new logo. We can help you. But
yeah,
people know what we do. So I don't feel like I have to remind people of that. I feel
mhm,
like just being in the community and being an organization people want to work with is going to help us more than anything.
sure.
Yeah.
And who knows in those conversations, if you're just talking to them, they could just say, "Oh, I'm struggling with this," and that
Yeah.
gives you an
It
opportunity at
does.
that point in time.
Yes.
But it's not
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm Kendra and I sell brochures."
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I just enjoy getting to know people too. So I
Hmm.
think, and I have been to networking events. Years ago, there used to be a group called Klamath New Professionals, and we used to try and hold events as a way to help people that were maybe new professionals to the community feel more connected and meet people outside their workplaces. And I used to overhear people talking about, I really enjoy rock climbing. And then all of a sudden, this group of people was planning, something fun to go do on the
Hmm.
weekend. Like that had nothing to do with their business or selling more of whatever it was that they had to sell. It was more about building a relationship with that person and finding a connection that ultimately like makes your life in Klamath a little bit more enriched.
Yeah, I
So,
like that.
yeah.
I know we've talked about Smith Bates doing printing, but you guys are really helping with all aspects of
Hmm.
marketing,
Hmm.
right? Um, I was having this conversation with our producer Jared
Okay.
about branding versus marketing.
Okay.
I'm curious your thought on that.
Oh, that's tricky. Okay. I would say branding is kind of your reputation. It's what you present of who you are. It could be
Mhm,
things like your color palette and your logo and the feel of what or like the feeling of the organization that could be expressed through, of course, your color palette and your logo. Um, it can be things like the words that you use. It can, um, I had a thought and I lost it, but so I feel like those are your assets. Your brand is your assets.
mhm,
And then when we're talking about marketing, marketing is the intentional actions that you're taking with that brand. So for us, I would consider networking as part of our marketing, and I would consider our social media as part of our marketing. We have a billboard on South 6th Street. We do radio advertisements. We, might have a print ad in a publication. All of those pieces are our marketing. They're kind of the um, vehicle with which we're sharing our brand. So Did I get it right?
I don't know. I was just
Okay.
it was just a thought in
Yeah.
my head.
Yeah.
Cuz Jared and I talk about it,
Yeah.
and so that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
I like that answer. What is Smith Bates brand?
So if you've read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, he talks a lot about organizations that have really stood the test of time. And I would say like your why is kind of your brand. So you think of how could a company like Apple that created a personal computer enter into music? Like that, computers and music are not the same thing, but their consumers accepted that because their brand wasn't computers, their brand was innovation,
Mhm.
right? So for us, when I think about who my husband and I are and who David and Bobby are, at our most basic, we ultimately want to help people. And as individuals in our families, we have a saying in the Santiago household that Santiagos are kind and helpful. And the beautiful thing about being a business owner is that can be our why and that can be our brand. That at our most basic, no matter what we're doing, we are helping. And so that's why I think it's appropriate and acceptable that a 100-year-old print company is doing websites and apparel because those things also help our clients.
Mhm. Oh, I
So,
like that. Do you have a tip if somebody else recognizes that maybe their brand, they don't have one or it's
mhm.
not as strong as it could be? Do you have a couple tips for them?
I think that they start with their values. Really think about what is driving it. And I think it's best to stay away from the product and think about the essence of what drives them.
Mhm.
So if you're a solar panel company, it could be sustainability, right? That you're more focused on sustainability or doing the right thing or something like that. And from that, I think that it makes it clear. It kind of clears away the noise and the clutter.
Mhm.
And then we have a lot of conversations with clients who are looking to rebrand or create a new logo. And we start with questions like, are there any sports team colors that we should avoid or that you need to have us include?
Makes sense.
are are there things you don't like or do like? Do you feel like this should be contemporary or rustic? Are there icons you really enjoy? And so it's sometimes it's easier to I don't expect anybody to figure these things out in a room by themselves. I think these things come out through conversation.
Mhm.
I love brainstorming. So I will not charge any money to anybody who just wants to brainstorm things. I'm happy to do that because it's helpful for me because it scratches an itch I have. So I would say we're always happy to have those conversations, explore those things. But sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming when that's not your wheelhouse,
Mhm.
but it does take time. And I do think it's almost like it's a little bit of a journey
Yeah,
sometimes to get there.
I love that.
Hmm.
Thank you for your time today.
Yeah,
I feel like those are
absolutely.
some really good
Oh, thank you.
lessons, like build relationships, know your brand. I love
Yeah.
all of that. So some fun questions at the end. If I
Okay.
gave you a $250,000 to
Yeah.
make a difference in our community by the end of
Yeah.
the day, what would you do with it?
Okay. I would open up a grant and I'd probably lean on somebody like the chamber or small business development center to help screen. But I would love to provide small seed money to people who have a business idea that requires something. So maybe it's a brand, maybe they need a logo. I would love to create some sort of pipeline that provides the crutch to a business person who, you'd have to meet certain criteria, but if the chamber or the small business development center or somebody could say, yes, they meet these criteria, they just need a little bit of help so they can get their first set of business cards printed or something like that. I would love to use it as a pass through Smith Bates so that we could help support other businesses grow.
That's
So, yeah.
awesome. I like that. That's not an answer we've had yet
Oh,
either.
really?
So that's kind of
Okay.
fun. And we have lots of kids stuff. They're all great answers, but it's
Uh-huh.
kind of fun to hear people's
Yeah.
ideas. Um, if you if I asked you to plan a perfect day in Klamath, what would it be?
Oh man. Okay, so the first part's easy. I would stay in my pajamas as long as possible. I drink a cup of coffee in my bed. And then I would say from there, I would probably take my kids to Moore Park, and I'd hope that they'd have the energy to go for a walk on the nature trails up there. And then I'd take them to the playground at the ADA accessible playground, and I would grab a picnic blanket and read a book for a little bit. Um, it'd have to be sunny outside though. So let's see. From there, we're probably gonna go to Bravada so I can get another cup of coffee and we can have lunch on the patio there. Followed by some form of entertainment. So whether it be an activity at the Ross Raglan or maybe a movie at the movie theater, or farmers market or something going on, we're gonna go do something for entertainment. Then we are going to do takeout from Thai Orchid for dinner and watch a movie on the couch as a family. So
That sounds like a pretty good day.
yeah, I know.
Nice.
Now I'm wanting that,
And
Heather.
I love that. You should do that on Saturday
Okay,
or
sounds good.
Saturday because the farmers market.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Tell me about one of your role models.
Oh, let's see. I don't even know if she knows that she's a role model, but she's somebody in this community. Johanna Scholler was at Geldwin when I was at Geldwin, and I started at Geldwin. I was 22 years old, probably when I first started at Geldwin, and I used to see Johanna as this woman who, and I know you know her, and you were at Geldwin when she was there, who just was a powerhouse. I mean, she worked hard and she was well respected and she was raising two girls and just always had amazing energy. And I always I looked up to her from afar. I was, young enough to be a little bit intimidated by Johanna. And then about the time so she left Geldwin just before I did, and I just had so much respect for her for having the strength to leave a corporate job and then take something in the community. And so she worked at CalOR for a little bit. She worked 30 hours a week, and then she took the role at Friends of the Children. And so I got the opportunity to really work alongside her because I then transitioned to Blue Zones Project about the same time. And she's an amazing project manager, and I would say I don't know why, but she is the person that I've always looked up to in this community. So yeah,
Well, thank you for your time.
absolutely.
Thank you to our producer, 40 Deuce Films.